All right, so catching up and continuing on this role of catching up on some episodes that I'd missed, we're talking about Star Trek Prodigy. So this next episode is called Preludes. It's episode 16, so stick around because we're going to get deep dive into it. I don't know how deep it's going to be, but it's going to be a dive. So we'll talk more. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Here we go. As the crew of the Protostar repair the Protodrive, each of them recounts how they got to Tars Lamora. Rock reveals she once was a fighter, often playing the monster in a carnival-like show, and was sold after she altered the script of the show and defeated the hero. Zero recounts how they were lured away from their Medusan exploration crew, only to be captured by Kazon hunters. Jankom goes last and describes how he was awakened early from cryogenic sleep on a Tellarite ship and repaired critical damage to the vessel, finally leaving in an escape pod so that there was enough oxygen for the remaining crew. On the Dauntless, Janeway discovers that Protostar's crew are children. As Ascencia, also known as the Vindicator, and Drednok help the Diviner regain his memories of traveling to the past to locate the Protostar. Janeway becomes suspicious of their guest and heads down to Ascencia's quarters, where she's knocked unconscious by the Diviner. Wow. Okay, so this episode blew me away. I wasn't it started out as what I thought was going to be just a regular bottle episode. Bottle episode, for those of you playing at home, is when you have a very small set normally where it's just the crew sitting in one area, whatever, and then they recount stories. Sometimes the stories normally in a bottle episode, the stories involve footage from previous episodes, given new context through the narration and the story that's being told by the individual. A good example would be sometimes they're talking about something and Jankom might be like, yeah, so then there I was, blah, blah, and I decided to leave. But then realistically, in the footage of a previous episode, you'd see that he was asked to leave or kicked out. But then, okay, now in animation, that's very different. So in animation, clearly we don't have the same restraints of sets. Now you do have the fact that you don't have to draw new things, like you don't have to draw new ships, new backgrounds, new all those things, or if not in this case, generate or create those models. And I think that in that respect, they did very much do this because when they're telling their story, they're pretty much in engineering dealing with the Protodrive. So you don't see the CGI characters or 3D characters going from place to place. It's one of those things where I feel like the more they improve how they tell stories, the more a lot of the same practices continue on. But as you go through each of these individual tellings, you're getting more character development. We're learning more about the characters. We're now seeing the characters beyond where they were when we first saw them in the very first episode of the season. So I think that there's a lot of value to that, and I'm excited for it. This was actually a very fun episode, especially when you get to the very end. So the very end of this thing, when you see Janeway go as she starts to come to the math, because again, the one thing I do love is they're showing Janeway being an actual reasoning person. She's sitting here going, these are children, but they were slaves, and they were escaped, and they're prisoners, and who did this? Who's the diviner? What's going on? She's asking all the right questions. And to eventually see her storm off into the room, turn around, and Ascensia's like, what? And then the diviner, I love the fact, even the diviner does the classic Star Trek, kapaya, with a little neck chop that we've seen in 1,000,001 Star Trek things. I love that. But yeah, so tell you what, man, it's a really, really good ending to leave us on. So there you go. Now you know, and if knowing's half the battle, you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. So what is the know-it-all index for this episode? I tell you what, this is one of the first episodes that's really kind of gotten. This had me. I was unimpressed, not by how what was being executed, because I'm not a fan of bottle episodes, but then how quickly it turned on a dime. So I'm going to give this episode an 8.5. I think that it is an excellent episode. I think we're moving in a really good direction. I'm still, the fact that they have me still curious as to how we're going to resolve this, like how are we going to actually end up with, what's the resolution of this? And will that spell the end of this series once you reach that resolution? So, all right, man. Well, hey, comment below. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts and insights on the episode. And we'll talk very soon again. Never forget, everyone loves a know.